All right, thank you, everybody. Hope you had a good lunch. Thank you, whoever ordered lunch, and it was from Buttery. The Buttery was very good. I had the chicken salad, so.
Yeah, Gina did good.
Thank you. So is it up to the police department?
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good
Chief.
afternoon, Chief.
Okay. So starting off, there's a couple of things I wanted to point out first. If we're looking at I'm starting in Department 40 with the Police Department. One of the things that I had talked with Judy about and that we had changed is I had a couple of sworn officers that actually ended up in Department 45, which is the police administration. So we took everybody that was a sworn officer and moved them into Department 40 to keep it a little more together. So anybody in Department 40 is a police officer sworn, takes care of that. Anybody in Department 45 is administrative personnel, so civilian staff, like the records clerk, administrative assistant. So there is a little bit of a change looking at that number initially on the salary portion of it, because we moved, I believe it was a total of 3 positions from admin up to the police department line item, Department 40. In Department 40, so as a part of what I had proposed or what I had talked about during strategic planning, I did propose a 10% increase for the officers across the board. Initially that and the 4.4% reduction in para. I think that the only thing that's added into this right now is the 10% increase. Excuse me. But that's what makes up that number that has come to be on the salary portion of Department 40.
That's why it was raised almost 500,000.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
The increase to 10% was like 271,000.
And you've already got all the burden and everything figured in on top of that too?
Yes.
All of the what?
Burden, withholding.
The benefits.
Matching,
Yeah.
para, back, yeah.
And the only vehicle you were asking for, did I see that, it's just the truck?
So yes, the only vehicle we're asking for at this time is the one vehicle for the ACO pickup. As it stands, since we're currently recruiting, I've got about 8 vehicles or 7 vehicles sitting in the lot that I need to put people in.
Yeah.
So I do have vehicles that will get us through.
Gotcha.
And going down this, I think one of the big ones that was in there, I think non-cap, I had put in there, I had 36,000 in there. Right off the top, the FBI and the state are making us go to a multi-factor authentication for getting into our NCIC and CJIS to run people for our
Okay, you-
officers.
Back that up to run people,
So if we run,
background or whatever kind of check on them?
so when our officers, when they've got their in-car computers, we can run license plates, we can run driver's licenses. To be able to access that system, they're implementing a multi-factor authentication for us to be able to get into it now. So that's about, I think it was quoted out through Systems MD, it was about $14,000 for
What does it
the,
do? I'm lost here. Is it, when you say whatever authentication, is it
those are
per
the-
officer?
per officer, so it's gonna require a secondary authentication. So you go to a website, you put in your username and a password, that's one measure. What this will do is you go in, you'll sign in your username and your password, and then you're gonna have to provide another password to get into that. That's.
And
I
that
think,
costs
random.
14 grand?
Well, it could send you, depending on the
Or
application that you're required, it'll send you an email, a text message, or whatever, but it's gonna be through whatever the system they're gonna need.
The new one?
The system that they had proposed.
So they don't have their own system. They want you to provide it.
They have their own, which is the system we're logging into, but they want an additional layer of security for accessing the information within the system, is what it amounts to.
And that costs 14.
What was the reason it cost 14 grand? I mean, I get that on credit card. I mean, for crying out loud, TDS does it.
Constantly mine at the work, if it's been a day or two, like when we're off for 2 days, and I go to log in, it'll say, do you want a text or an email to try to get back into this? I'm like, golly, I put my username and password in.
And it's kind of one of those unfunded mandates that they're doing. They're putting it on us to provide that multi-factor authentication.
It's $14,000 one time?
So one time for the, I believe it's an actual, so I know some of them have like a pass key. I don't know if it's a pass key or if it's
Like my bank does, they got a deal that's, you look at it, and it gives you a number. I never figured this out, it's like witchcraft. It's in your pocket, you pull it out, and it has a number that changes on, it's a digital number, and you type it in, it matches what's at the bank. I don't know how that even works.
That's probably what this is gonna be.
And it may be
something
similar to
along
that. I know, because one of the options was to be able to have, the officers receive a text message on their phone, but not all the officers have department phones, so I'm not gonna require that they use their personal phone for that.
Yep.
Then the other option is to get an email. So this was kind of a third option to where they can have that tied to their computer or have it with their stuff so that they could get the secondary authentication to log into these restricted websites. So there is a reoccurring, it's not a very big reoccurring, a software reoccurring that would come after that. I think it's like $900 a year. But this was the initial.
Did you get this like from the state police or the chiefs union or from EBI or from,
So the
FBI is the one that tells you where to
So
go?
it came down through the state, so Katie is the one that actually, she'd been in contact with DFA and the state as far as how that works because of our access to CJIS and NCIC. So she had been in contact with them. This is an upcoming requirement. They haven't made everybody go to it, so planning on the front end of it that we're gonna have to come up with this, put that in there so that we can cover that as a minimum so that we can get in and still be able to use our computers effectively.
Okay. What makes you wonder what the Downs is gonna do, or these smaller police departments? They just won't, they're gonna call you up and say, hey, chief, can you?
And there's probably other ways of going about it that might be, they may be cheaper. Like I said, I don't know if you want to give everybody a department phone, not us
You could
specifically,
just
but
go
if
to
they
the dog
wanted to
park
do
and
that.
ask this Lisa gal, she knows everything about it.
And of course too, we're dealing with 25 people that are going to have access to it. They've got 3.
Yeah, and because what you're going off of, if you don't have a computer terminal in your unit, then you're just dealing over the radio with dispatch, which the dispatch at a small place will have that set up. They're having to pay this money because it's in the unit to access it.
So you're not
They're
calling and saying, Katie, I got blah, 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 can you run a whatever, something check, and then they do it? Instead, they're going to their,
So yes, the officers are able to run this information inside their vehicle. And to that point, when we get to it in Department 47, dispatch has to do it as well. They're
Yeah,
having to do
yeah.
the multi-factor, so that's actually in theirs as well, that we have to add that into theirs. So
Okay.
anybody that has access to those systems is going to be required to do it at some point. And I think that's coming up this year.
next thing you know, they'll be talking to Interpol, right?
Right. They'll probably require fingerprints and everything else just to get in. And we do quite a bit. She does collect quite a bit of information just to get access to do this, get into NCIC and the CJIS stuff, but it's more and more, it's heavily
Okay,
guarded.
you said the word fingerprint. So we do fingerprint on our own when you arrest somebody?
Yes and no. If we arrest somebody and they're going to the jail, they get fingerprinted at the jail, and those prints are submitted through the jail that way. If it's somebody that we arrest and they're either released on their own recognizance or they bond out, we have a fingerprint machine there that actually does hard cards, so we
Who
print them.
does that? Oh, it's the old smudges?
It's not they're still digital, but it prints it out on an actual card, and then those get submitted.
It's not
Okay.
ink.
It's not ink, it's a new one. So that, we run it?
So we have that, yes.
Okay, and then I know one day a week you have a company that comes in that does fingerprinting for state licenses and all the other.
So the state went through Identigo for all of the license, or for all the fingerprint. That's the company they chose for us to do fingerprints that get submitted to the state. So we have that one as well. That's a separate system.
But they're only there one day a week, right?
So it's still, it's Chris, that does them, our evidence, he does them. And basically, when you set up through Identigo, what days you want, you can do it 5 days a week, and they'll book them for you. But having them 2 days a week, they'd have one, and so the problem with Identigo is you give them a schedule, that's your schedule. They will not, you can't bring anybody in on other days. You can't, I mean, if somebody wants something on a Monday and you do it on a Tuesday, they're gonna wait until Tuesday because it has to go through their system to be able to sign in. So it's
Well, it's
kind
so
of been a
limiting.
pain.
How much did it cost us? I mean, I had to go all the way to Alamogordo to get my fingerprints for the Lynx liquor license. And he does it 3 or 4 days a week, but he's not an officer.
Right.
They went through, I just wonder why we don't get it out of the police department. Quit burdening Chris and get somebody that can actually do it.
And that's certainly a consideration. I know it had been discussed, it had been brought up to me possibly if there was another department that had the availability to do it 4 or 5 days a week because
Well, Nancy used to do it.
Nancy,
Nancy Smith. And it was a different system at that
Oh,
time,
okay.
so.
Oh, okay.
We were on, not Genetec, there was a system right before Identigo that we used, and we did all the scheduling for it. It was very flexible, we could do prints whenever we wanted to, and so we did set up 2 days a week, and we could fill those slots as needed. This new system seems to be a lot more restrictive, they kind of hold on to the scheduling to themselves, they don't give us very much autonomy as far as
I mean, it took me
getting people in.
5 minutes.
Yes, they're
I mean,
quick.
once you're registered, I walked in and he goes, "You're gonna have to wait." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, I'm just 5 minutes early." And about that time, this lady comes walking in the door, she hands him the form, and he goes, "Well, she was first." And I was like, "But that's what you're telling me, they got a certain schedule?"
They're very specific.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
weird.
and it's, I would have preferred to probably stay with the other system, but this was a state deal that they wanted everybody to go to be able to.
But
submit
I just
those
wonder why
prints.
that couldn't be outsourced, get it out of our hair.
And we're not obligated to do it. Like I said,
The
our
other
prints
one
for
is
prisoners
to,
are separate.
They have a print shop and, kind of like our Postal Annex, same setup.
I don't know if there's another department within the village that has somebody manned all the time that would be willing to take that on. I mean, if we wanted to keep it, that could do more hours or more days per week.
I remember back in the day, because this came up, and we didn't make much money off of it a year for the service, because it had come up when I was sitting there about just do away with it. Well, wait a minute, you got all the teachers that have to come in.
Exactly.
Right.
You got all the liquor license.
Real estate
Who else is gonna-
agents.
Real estate, who else is gonna do it? That's why I, at the time, said, no, we need to hold on to this as a public service thing.
I agree.
But if there's somebody else or some other entity and you said, hey, it's gonna be 5 days a week, you can come here and get
Because
it
what is that,
done.
about $45?
How much was it? I don't remember. It seemed like it was 100 and something.
I think we pay 23 because we have to do our officers as well. So
I think it was
we
like
do-
$600 a year or something. It
Yeah.
I was
wasn't,
gonna
No,
say, we get
individually.
like $200 a month.
yeah, it wasn't, it's not something that you're gonna fund a person with
No,
by
no.
any means.
Right.
No, but I thought that I thought it was $100 and something. But that I went over and if this guy's doing a business anyway, and then it's like and that's what he did right after lunch at 1 o'clock, 1:15, 1:30, and he did 4 a day and he's done.
I think we pay, to do our officers, we pay $23.
I need to
per-
find out more about that and I'm gonna ask, what's the guy's name down at Postal Annex?
David Locke.
David
David,
Locke.
I'll just ask him if they'd even be interested in it.
And if we kept it as an entity, I don't know if there's somebody at the library that would have time 1 day, 2 days a week, if there's another department that would want to take it on. I don't know that it's necessarily bad that we as an entity have it.
No.
Especially since we're doing business registrations and we're doing those things.
Yeah.
But it may provide a little more opportunity to do 2
Yeah, I
or 3
think if
days
we
a
could at
week.
least get it to 2 days a week
Yes.
for the public, because, and that was the deal. The other lady was from Ruidoso, I didn't even know her. That, they came in there that day. And-
Oh, okay.
And that's what I asked him. He said, well, don't y'all have whatever it is?
Identigo.
And he says, is it not active? And I said, well, they were only booking on Tuesdays, and it's and I was too late or whatever, that's why I'm here.
And I want to say they even have holiday schedules. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous how they do their scheduling. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's not something we have control over right now, but we
But
can,
insurance, and there's a lot of people that have to have those things done annually, and
yes.
especially with the state changing all the liquor stuff, so. Okay, well, I'll just ask him if he'd be interested, and we can go further if we can.
Let's see. Moving on to.
So
see.
on your police administration, so the lay people and then, pardon me?
ACOs, the animal control officer,
Oh, the animal control.
records, the admin assistant.
So there's a total of, right now, 6 people that fall into that category, seven positions that fall into that position.
So all the police officers, it doesn't matter their title, are on the police.
Are now
office.
in Department 40, yes,
Got it.
ma'am.
And is that you as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, we have 13 people in dispatch now?
Positions.
That's why I'm
I think there's 11 positions. I think that, as I was talking to Katie, and and Judy can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we have 11 total positions in dispatch. We're short 3 right now, I think, 3 or
Yes.
4.
Wow, I didn't realize we even had hired that many.
So they're actually in a pretty decent position right
Yeah,
now.
they're doing good.
That's great.
And I think the only other big items that either show up in Department 40 and Department 47 respectively are gonna be the, software maintenance, but that's gonna be, the biggest part of that are gonna be the CAD software program that we just went to and the new RMS system. So the RMS system is in Department 40 and the CAD system is in Department 47. There's a few other software licensing things that fall into that category as well, in Department 47. So the test taking software that we use when we have applicants to Test Genius, that falls in there. GoCirco, which is a phone company, our phone recording system, that falls into that as well. The Mark 43 was a total of $49,270 on the reoccurring. And I know through the discussions that we've had to go through on the Consolidated Dispatch Board, 25% of that will be reimbursed through from Ruidoso Downs.
And so I'm guessing that their council and mayor said fine to go with the software?
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Letterman, when John Underwood presented to the council, he only put discussion, he didn't put possible action, so he just explained and everybody was fine.
Okay.
So there wasn't any vote
Well,
on
they
it.
voted?
No. He said that the board had already approved it, he just gave him a summary and that was it, so,
So they approved it.
yes, it was already approved, they didn't act on it. So.
So, I mean, that was quite the discussion.
I thought there would be a big brouhaha over that deal.
I thought there was gonna be, we prepared for one, but it wasn't.
Good, I mean,
So,
I'd
No, it
rather
was-
get my umbrella out and not need it than
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
fuel. We can get by on $96,000 worth of fuel.
So in looking at what we had budgeted for last year, let's see if I'll go back to Department 40, and what we had used up to this point, we still had enough, it looked like, to kind of get us through the end of the year. We hadn't expended more than I think what we had planned on. So we just left that one as it was.
Is that enough,
Time
you
being.
think? So you didn't go over your budget last year, the
Chief,
98.4?
And we also look at 3-year averages and try and project out, how fuel's fluctuating.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much holding steady right now. And even with tariffs and everything else, the 3-year average was still below this 96.
Tariffs, why are we getting tariffs
Well,
on?
any-
Everybody's throwing this tariff
not
stuff around and it hadn't even happened
Not
yet.
necessarily tariffs, but any other price increases
Right.
or what could potentially happen.
I know, but I know I spend $100 a week,
Right,
me,
right.
times 52 weeks,
Right.
average. That's
So-
$5,000. And here we got, how many cars running
It
around?
might have to be an adjustment because he's had so many vacancies
Right.
this last year that the actuals.
Not as many units running.
Might be a
Yep.
little skewed. If he hires all his vacancies, we might have to come back like at mid-year and revisit.
Well, I was just looking at, not even talking about now, I'm just talking about last year.
His 3-year actuals is
Last year was 89.
96,000.
Yeah, no, it's, well, last year was 98.
No, that's
Fo-
the budget for this year. That's,
Total budget for 2024 for this year, yeah.
It was 98.4.
and they've only used 62.
Chief,
And we're running with about almost 25% down in the department for almost a year, so that could be,
when we had the fueling station at Horton, did you all fill up over there during that whole time? They were here?
they did a few times, yes.
I just didn't know if that was part of the numbers there. Because you wouldn't see it on your report there.
Oh,
Saying-
well, and that was over a 2-week period, and I think we had gas station, at least a gas station back that
We
we
had
could
it there
use.
for months, so I just didn't know if you guys.
No, when we went back to using the cards as soon as we
Okay.
could, as far as I know. I don't think anybody else used the
Okay,
fueling
well, as
station.
long as you're good, I just found that surprising.
What about your LEPF, now that that thing's up to $217,000, golly, I wouldn't know how to act.
Well, and that's, I did the application for it, and that's what they told me, when they came up with the number. I thought, well, that was, and that's just with what, the numbers that we have now.
Oh, yeah, if you
If we were fully
staffed,
staffed,
it'd be
we'd
more
be
than
even
that.
higher,
But
so.
what are some of your thoughts on what you're gonna use that for?
A lot of it I was looking at for equipment. I'm not sure if I can update some of the equipment that we've got. Trainings, there is a training and travel line item in here. It's got 20,000 in it. But I'm trying to hold that and do as much as I can out of the LEPF as possible. Because that then allows us to be able to send people to more trainings and not have to worry about that. And I think that money will help fill that need. And I'm hoping I can do that within a year, but 217 might be a big stretch to try, and I'm gonna be buying some equipment is what's gonna happen, so. Hopefully, and if it comes down to it, I don't know, at the end of the year, if I've got that much left, we may look at a vehicle if we need to, or whatever we need to do with it.
Yep. Cool.
But I've got some expenses coming up that we'll deal with, smaller ones.
Are we still down 5 police officers?
6 right now, yes, ma'am.
6.
Cause you got one that's out there, OJT, that hadn't been to the academy yet.
Correct, he's a few weeks in, Dominic Rodriguez, and he'll be going to the academy in July. And then we'll have Tobias Palmer back next month.
And then we got one that's in limbo right now,
So he's the one, Dominic, so he's just doing right along right now?
the other one. That's not in active duty.
Oh, yes.
And that it's still in these numbers, though.
Yes. And then the other increase in Department 47 for dispatch, let's see, where did we put that one? That was under equipment maintenance. We did add in there we've got a contract with Budiger out of Las Cruces for maintenance on the generator. So we can keep that up and running. That's their portion of it. PD's actually got a small portion also. They're splitting the travel time, but they're gonna maintain the generator there at Horton and the one at the PD. So once a year, they're gonna come up, they'll service it, they'll load test it, make sure everything looks good. So we added that into the equipment maintenance. I talked to Katie, and it was something that hadn't been, I guess, taken care of initially. But we did get a quote through Advanced Communications, who put in all the radio equipment. Basically installed everything we've got at Horton. And there's a service agreement, a maintenance agreement for $36,000 that's in that equipment maintenance. But that basically provides, if something happens, we call them, they're up here, they fix it, they take care of it. They're not gonna charge us travel time or anything else, because anytime something goes out, then they have to come up here. They're gonna start billing us for it. Now that we're beyond 1 year, we're at a year and a half-ish
Already?
already.
My gosh, I can't believe that.
I know. So, and
$3
we.
grand a month, and they replace the equipment if it,
So to the equipment that they can, but at least coming up, fixing if they can fix it, if it's something that's faulty and can be replaced. So we're dealing with 2 radios that have gone down already. They're working with the radio manufacturer to get those repaired because those have been very short-lived and they're supposed to be really high-end radios. So we've been in contact with Advanced Communications about getting those radios fixed. That
these are
doesn't
the ones
fall
you
with.
carry around?
These are the big base station radios in dispatch. That doesn't fall within the maintenance agreement, but that should be a manufacturer warranty issue. But this does provide for them coming up, pulling them, replacing and putting in temporary radios, which they've done up to this point. They'll come up and tune the radios. So anytime we've had an issue with the radio and we call them, they're up here and they're working on it.
So that's not Radio Rick.
So it's not ready, no, this is not Radio Rick, since these are the guys that did put them in, they're the ones that are kind of working on them, so.
Sure.
So there is an increase of 36,000 just for that maintenance per year, but it does cover quite a few things to include them coming up here. And then there's a $2,000 on equipment maintenance also for the UPS, the Universal Power Supply for dispatch. And then I believe that gets me through the rest of it. As far as the DWI grant fund, I know Bill has put in submitted the grant to the state. I don't believe he's heard back.
Yeah, he did. He got it.
Has he?
They gave,
The correct amount is in there now.
Okay,
no, it came out yesterday. or
Okay.
whatever. Yes. And he's gonna ask for some more next year on,
We're gonna,
grants.
what we're gonna do, Mayor and Council, Chief, is on applying for a grant. You could do that in the fall, in October, is to get with you and others and try to submit a grant application. Everybody's being funded. That'd be a great opportunity for some additional funding.
As long as we spend it down. And we're using it because there's a lot of money. I had no idea.
Oh, well.
yeah, and I think we've gone through a lot of the grant money that we've had up to this point. I think he shut us off already this year, to make sure we can pay up what we've got, so.
Right. And he's, right now, the only grant the village has, or through the county, the village, is the distribution. The other one's just a regular grant. It's a reimbursable grant, so it's totally different on types of eligibility and what items you can spend it on, so.
Nice. And then I think that takes us to, and we did cover LEPF. So with that, I'll stand for any questions regarding anything else.
Great job.
Thank you, ma'am.
I was just telling them at church, had overheard conversation people better start slowing down because the police were out giving tickets.
It does not take long because I had a few that called and said the same thing. And you know, that rolling coal, Robert got a ticket. And they told him it was for rolling coal, blacking out, and that the fine was only $19.
I don't know what he would have been cited under, and I don't know if that was municipal or not. I know with the state coming in and pulling the corrections fees out, a lot of our municipal court fines have gone down. I know I think I talked to Annette and at the courts to see if that's something we can readdress if we want to try and take our fines back up at least to what the penalty assessments were prior to. And, we can either use those funds as our own corrections funds to help, because we are paying for still, prisoner meals when we do those things. Obviously, we're not being reimbursed, we're not using corrections funds for those things where we transport. We're not getting that money from the state anymore, so, there is an option that we can do that if we want to revisit that at some point in time.
And if somebody was stopped for the pipes blowing, it would be exhibition of speed, would be with most catch-off. Somebody spins their tires or accelerates too fast or acts up, exhibition of speed.
Well, and I think I did one, there was a young man I cited for that at one point in time. I think I did it for disorderly conduct even, just because he was actually dropping a gear, and so he was doing it right in front of a business every time he went by. So every time he'd drop a gear, it would smoke him out, and they had an outdoor patio. So I caught up with him, and yeah, I think I did disorderly conduct for that, given the situation, so.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of those trucks that the pipes come out like this, and I was behind one the other day, and it was like,
Well, I was standing out in front of Cafe Rio waiting for my pizza, and I was just standing there talking to some people, and I saw this guy, and I waved at him as he's going by, and he did that. And I mean, it blew smoke all over, his is down on the back left.
Yep.
Blew diesel, smoke all over the sidewalk, and he thought it was funny, real funny.
Yeah, no, it's not.
yeah.
But he made an impact, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Chief, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And your police academy's going real good, you said?
Police Academy's going well, so we've got 2 more weeks of class. We'll do we've got 3 more weeks of class, then we'll do the graduation on the 15th.
Oh, that's
So
neat.
everything's going well.
Wow.
How many did you have in class this year?
We've got, funny enough, we started off with about 18, but by the time we had regular attendance, it was about 9. So, but it worked out good.
Oh, good.
It
Yeah,
worked out
that's a
good.
nice,
And they've been very interactive and they're really enjoying it, I think, so it'll be a good time.
First one of them's Elaine, so she'll be interactive. Elaine?
oh, Elaine.
Elaine and Adam are both.
And Adam's in there too.
Didn't have Adam in detention, because that's what he said, over at Horton, he was always in the detention,
Oh,
always.
poor Adam. I don't believe it.
Yes, sir, Mr. Alex.
So on planning and zoning's department page, it should be FTE 8, with 1 being new.
With one what?
1 being new, there's a total of 8 now, and added the STR inspector. So it's just a misprint on the department page.
Okay, so the STR new one makes it 8.
And you've already got that person.
We do not. We're looking to be advertising that in the next couple weeks to get that.
Got it.
Remember, that one's gonna be funded off the increased fees.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
So is that person gonna be in short-term rental?
Yep, inspecting and doing all the things that they gotta do.
Correct. So with the change to annual inspections, that does double the workload. And so having the full-time inspector, that person will then also be able to be a backup to be sure that we can make sure the rest of the program works as well as it can.
And that's why you need a new vehicle.
Correct.
So Judy, that's reflected, the 8 is reflected in the full-time salaries that you have here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Talk to us. What you got going?
All right, so with the short-term rental program, there are those changes in there noted for the new position, also some additions to some of the other categories in our supplies. Would also note the postage, also big increase there, because we are going to be sending out a postcard to everybody in the village twice a year to let them know about our portal that will show where the short-term rentals are currently being operated here in the village, and also that will have the contact information on there. Hopefully, that number can come down some if we utilize a service in order to do that mailing.
Couldn't they bootleg on the monthly memo or the monthly
I'm sorry,
mailer?
what were you saying?
He's increasing his mailing for a twice-a-year notification to everybody in the village. Here's the portal access for your STRs in the village. I was saying, why couldn't
Why
that
can't we?
go in there? That could be
Well, we put it into the ordinance that way, that's what we'd be doing, but we can,
What is it now, that it has to be standalone notice? Is that what you're saying in the ordinance? Or the
what we said
ordinance?
is we're going to send a postcard to everybody that says that we have a portal available, instead of sending out the letters regarding each property, within the 200 feet of each property. We're just going to do that with the thought that after a couple years perhaps or less, when people know that that is available, we would not then need to do that.
Mayor and council, during the initial discussions with the committee, and then once it went to P and Z, there was actually a recommendation of, can we just put it on the bottom of the bill and attach it? The discussion was that not everyone would see it, and they'd probably not pay attention to it. So the idea was that if we had an actual postcard that was a mailer identifying everything, it would be more clear. And so
But
that's,
Hooker's just saying, instead of having the mayor's message, we just put it right there. That one, and you have to do that how often?
twice a,
We put it in the ordinance twice a year.
You can't do that? I mean, I don't know why.
It's going to the same place, the same
But-
It's
but
going
is
to
it-
everybody.
But is it the word postcard that's holding us up?
it's an actual postcard that we would be sending. I mean, if we're okay with making that adjustment to the actual ordinance, I don't see why not.
Well, we gotta go through all the public sentiment, don't we, to change the ordinance? I mean, if,
Significant.
I just,
I don't think it's a,
It's not a substantial change.
No, Mayor and Council, I think as long as we do that twice a year, we could even do it more often on the newsletter if needed, so be able to use that resource.
And how much money is it?
$2,500, is that what you said you increased, or?
We, I think we increased it probably $10,000 to $15,000 was the $15,000, yeah,
Oh, man.
was our estimated cost for doing that.
Oh, gosh, that,
That'll buy you more tablets.
yeah.
I mean, he's got, yeah. I don't know, we should think about that, since we're already spending that money.
And no matter what, you're gonna have people that are gonna chunk everything that has government on it anyway.
Yes.
Whether it be the newsletter, whether it be the bill, whatever, so.
But you know, this last time we had, the Keep Riddles Beautiful on the outside of the mailer when it was folded. And you could see it prominent. I had people that made comments on that.
We could do something like that also.
I don't know why we couldn't put that on the outside, and it's a half a page postcard. Anyway, we'll look at that. Because the whole idea is we want people to see it. You know, we want them to be aware of it.
Also, I believe there is a bump in our travel schools in regard to bringing on, we have the 3 building inspectors that we need to be sure that they get trained up, and then also 2 of them we need to keep adding additional certifications for them. Also, we are moving to the planning department, community development department, the GIS function for the city, and so to be sure that we can provide through Stephanie Warren, to be sure she is up to speed as to where she needs to be to also provide service to the village, and then also for the rest of the village staff that will also be utilizing GIS, if there's any needs for them to have that training in there.
On that GIS licensure, is that $180,000 a year?
Yes.
Wow. And so the clean and lean is also, do we just keep 250,000 at all times?
Yes.
Okay.
The clean and lean process has actually been upped over the course of the last 2 years. If you recall, yes. And then because of some of the improvements that the clean and lean has done,
Yeah.
specifically to 100 No-Gal,
Yeah.
that took up 90,000 by itself.
Yeah.
And so as we start to identify more properties that need that kind of significant addressing, plus the discussion from earlier this morning related to some of the items on thinning, we were assuming that there would be more issues
Yeah.
on a funding related component for those homes.
Yeah, okay.
Have we been repaid any of those monies off of No-Gal yet?
No, so they won't actually go, I think he won't actually be done on his items for another 6 months. And that's when he said he'd start repaying everything up front.
Okay. So I agree with the 250. So with the GIS and the, we've never finished our address
Yeah.
deal, so are we even talking about that again?
So probably right about now, actually, Stephanie's probably wrapping up our biweekly get-together with Datamark. We are on hold with that, with the disaster last year at the advice of FEMA, until we get everything paid out to not make those changes. We are also evaluating whether we're going to continue our relationship with Datamark, being that it is going to be a little bit before we get that going again. But we will, once we get the clearance go-ahead that everything is copacetic with FEMA and their payouts, we will then be ready to get back into the address changing.
And Mayor and Council, just a refresher on what the FEMA issue is. So as we go through all of the reimbursements on streets, on culverts, on any of that infrastructure, they are specifically related to the streets as they identify them as they are today.
Oh, gotcha.
If we go through on a renaming program or a renaming process, and that happens in the next 6 months, and our outstanding reimbursements don't come in as they verify them, if Bird Street today is,
Yeah.
Or if it's
Robin
127,
Street
but it's
tomorrow.
supposed to be 128.
yes, then that can turn around and they'll say, this is not the appropriate address. We will pull that project and it will not be a
Kind
reimbursable.
of kills our public safety, we got to get this done
One,
speech.
yeah.
And we are actively trying to get it done. However, we were told if that is the case, be prepared to not receive a reimbursement for those infrastructure issues.
Yeah, we don't want that.
The good news, I guess, related to that is that the state started receiving reimbursement funds yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So,
It's got to be a record.
it is, and that's something that we had a discussion on yesterday. That means we should be seeing funds, hopefully, once DFA reviews them, goes through all of that process, we should be seeing reallocation funds hopefully within 3 weeks to a month.
Wow. That's
We haven't
amazing.
seen- yeah.
As Ron always tells me, I won't believe it till I see it. So
Exactly.
let's see what happens till it hits our bank account.
Tariffs.
It's the tariffs, that's what's going
Tariffs,
on.
damn it. Well, that's amazing that it's that fast. It really is. So thank you to what you guys do and everything. And then Moon, John Moon, and those guys, man, they've done a great job for us.
Yes.
400 grand on the comprehensive plan?
Yes, sir.
Can you kind of just give me a Reader's Digest version of what all that entails?
So that is not anticipated to be completely spent on our initial consultant that will do the update. That will also include additional subsequent plans beyond that.
So now then, when you're talking to this consultant, you see how much money that they're being paid, so don't, if you got a question, ask them.
Yes.
And these are things that we need to, that they will get the data, metadata, all that put together for us, or questions on what departments, what divisions, and what parts of the city we're talking about.
And Mayor and Council, we've had some discussions with different vendors. The idea on a detailed matter is that you would see everything from an economic development study, an update on the current comprehensive plan, additions to the comprehensive plan that need to be added, anything out of the strategic plan that you all have moved on, updated and placed.
Oh, see,
into
I would love
timeframe.
to show that portion, stuff that we learned in the previous
Yes, sir.
comprehensive plans, strategic plans, all the way through, that with master plans that we've accomplished.
And those are the items that are going to be addressed. And then on top of that, the linkages between them. So for example, in your previous comprehensive plan, you did the marketing component that Carrie put together. Those different objectives, what's in those objectives and where you're at today, any growth, which links back to the economic development plan, what that's going to look like, what those objectives will be, and then things under that. So when you start looking at items like tourism, linking the airport master plan, linking the, I'm blanking on what Adams was, the infrastructure master plan. So Cobb Finley's work on them identifying all the assets and the asset management pieces in the field, all of that will fall under a certain area. So that's why there's a significant amount of money in that, in this line item, to be able to build that umbrella and then each additional item under that so that we can track it in a much better way.
Yeah.
That'd be good. And we're shooting for,
A September kickoff for that we would have something to you probably July.
I look at Christie before she tries to hang me,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, for selecting a consultant.
and then you have a kickoff meeting, inviting the public, different things like we did before,
One of the items that we're putting on our respondents will be for them to suggest to us. We have a sort of a gut feel as what we're looking for public participation, but that's going to be a major component of what they're going to be evaluated upon is a draft public participation plan that we feel can best address our needs.
Because it's going to be housing, for sure.
One of the other items we've been discussing is how much engagement we want. We know we usually get general participation. The goal is to get significant participation.
Well, and we
And we
did
did-
during the
uh-huh.
comprehensive plan.
We sure did.
We had a lot of folks show up and we broke them off into different,
Yes.
what trip's your trigger there? Okay, well, they're having that over there
Yeah, we had
tomorrow at
Parks and
10.
Rec and how, all the way around the room.
Yes,
and they-
exactly, because
Uh-huh.
you get a lot more interest and participation when
Yeah.
you have a more specific topic than rather just this is a comprehensive plan update and you just
Yeah.
get yawns.
Yes.
So we're looking to try and do like an event at Wingfield where you do hundreds and you get like massive community event participation.
Wingfield Park?
Or center areas where you get
So you mean have tents set up?
more educational components where people learn. And then after that, on top of that, then you do charrettes. So what you would do in those.
Because
maybe
we had
50
it
to
set up
80.
at the convention center, all broken out with different curtain layouts and then we would go out in the field and do some things.
And when we get the proposals, obviously those are going to be things we look at, but we are pushing for a strong,
I hope you have one on there about expanding the convention center.
yes, sir.
Okay, how we can do that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, I really am.
So we're going to start this in September.
Once we get the award, I think the award will probably 6 weeks from,
Advertise next week, and I think
Oh.
you'll find it out for 6 to 8 weeks, right?
Okay.
Because we have a lot going on in September.
yes.
Yeah.
So it may be closer to October.
Yeah. I know last time we started in January. So, okay, that sounds great.
Anything else for Alex?
No, thank you.
What kind of response are you getting from your short-term rentals?
Mostly positive. I would say once we have to explain what's happening, we've not seen numbers drop off.
That's what,
So in fact, I think we're actually a little bit, we're not back yet to where we were pre-fire. We're about 1340 something of the number that we've got registered. We've had our engagement meeting with Decker Technology, our new contractor for that. We had our engagement meeting yesterday, Monday afternoon. And we're looking to have that all those parts in place mid-June, but July 1st at the latest, in that. So I think we're making good strides.
what kind of truck or car are you looking for?
The two vehicles that we would be looking to do, also we're looking to replace the 2014 Yukon. Both of those would be an F-150 type pickup truck.
Because I see it.
I had only seen one.
Oh,
And
you got it
with the
broken
thought-
out into
yeah.
STR and P and Z.
Yes, and then with the thought that our chief building official, Dave Myers, currently has a Chevy Equinox, we would then put that, would be for the general plan and use, and he would have that F-150 for his daily rounds of inspections.
And where's your lettering budget? Is it figured into that too?
The
labeling.
branding, the labeling, yes.
It is figured in there?
I don't know that it is, no, for certain,
Okay.
on that. We just use generic numbers based upon what we were seeing being approved. Hopefully those numbers are high and we can get it for less than that, but
Is that expensive, the lettering?
Well, I mean, you're gonna spend $2,000-3,000 on decaling and all that.
Okay,
And I just hope that we get an electric one. If you could do that, get one of those F-150.
the Lightning ones, yeah.
Think you could get us one of those?
We have a
They don't
charger,
work
we have
for
a
crap.
charger somewhere.
The municipal, they
Yeah.
could probably give you one.
Well, it only goes to 60 in 3 seconds, I don't know.
Yeah,
oh,
that's
yeah.
what we need. Myers, get all them done real quick. Oh, we gotta pull over and recharge. I'll be
Oh,
ready in
my
8 hours.
gosh.
And then you're needing a plotter too?
Yes, sir. So the one that we have is on its last legs. And
Is that the big one that you have back here?
Yes, yes, it is.
Are you gonna get the tabletop with it's like a TV flipped over on its face?
I don't know the exact specification of what we got there. We do have a quote that we have that it's good for another few days for that. But it is pretty much the same manufacturer model, but just the latest version of that.
What is a plotter?
A large-scale printer.
Oh,
a
okay.
Printer scanner.
Okay.
A lot of
you.
the, so the one that the EOC got and the one that we're getting for planning does a lot of the mapping components, a lot of the scanning. So when people come in with their regular plans, they can scan those larger items. We can start to see those a little bit better. So it's really going to help us become more efficient on the planning side.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alex.
The library.
Barry,
The library.
Counselor Sala says.
Library.
The
Hi,
library.
Barry.
It's pronounced many ways.
And it's all good.
I love your bears. I love the bears out in the front with the books, the book bears from Mr. Figueroa.
Yes, he did
Those
those.
are really, that's pretty sharp.
Actually, it was the Lincoln County Garden Club.
Yes.
That asked him if he would do them.
Yes.
Commission him, and he said he would do them for free.
Oh, my God, it is, if you haven't seen them, they are just
Is that
too good.
Jesus, Jesse?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
He did those book bears. They look wonderful.
Well, congratulations on your new appointment. Hopefully you don't need it.
What,
She's the
oh,
emergency,
yes,
in charge of the phone
yes, the call center.
call center.
Well, it kind of made sense because most of my staff were doing it last year, so.
Yeah. And then you got the recycled art show just about to conclude.
Yes, they're supposed to announce the winners on Friday.
And then it'll be a week, but you need to go over there. Oh my gosh, that we have over 80 projects. It is so good.
They did a great job.
Yes.
Also on that too, we will be moving some of them for a little while because Saturday we have an author coming in for the Slow Travel New Mexico.
Oh,
So we need to move that so there's the space for
Yeah.
folks to learn about slow travel.
What's slow travel?
Slow travel,
Could have said show up and you'll find out. Slow
I
travel.
I could have said that, but I want people to know what it is. Basically, what it is that you take more time and you don't go with, what do I want to call it? I know the name of it, an itinerary in mind. You just take the time to go and maybe check out things that you wouldn't be inclined to do so and learn something new.
Wow.
yeah, like stop at the roadside and read the
Roadside.
The markers
yeah.
that they have.
Historical markers.
Yes, the historical markers.
Be spontaneous.
Yeah, spontaneous.
It should be good. The authors are international journalists, so it should be really good.
Excellent.
So my budget, the total amount, nothing has changed. I've just moved it around to different accounts that we need it in because what we do has changed, so we're adding it to different accounts. I did open an account for fuel and for maintenance for our wonderful cargo van y'all approved for us, which I have been in touch with both the Carrizoso and Capitan libraries, and I'm going to be in touch with the directors of the senior centers in Ruidoso Downs and in Hondo, because those are the 4 places that we'd like to do some stops. And I'd like to speak to Anthony about possibly doing one there at the community center, so.
When do we get our truck? Our van?
We got it.
Oh, we already have it.
She's already
Have
using
it.
it.
And I'm working with the agency to get all the lettering and everything on it, so.
Wonderful.
so. And then we'll work out some MOUs so that we can work with Capitan and Carrizoso to do drops there as well.
Wonderful.
So, we upped our postage because we've been doing a lot more interlibrary loans, and they cost more than just sending out a letter. So we've been doing more of those, so we have to pay, the way it works is the library that sends it pays to send it, and those that receive it pay to send it back. So we upped our postage because we're having more interlibrary loans. General office supplies stays the same. Our janitorial supplies stays the same. I added 1,400 for fuel. Library materials is at 27,000, about 500 less than before. Travel in schools stays the same. Equipment rental has increased because when we got new copiers, we had them include in the contract an average amount for the copies that we make. And so that's been included in the price, the monthly price. Equipment maintenance agreements, I reduced that because we are not going to need the maintenance agreement with Biblioteca for the gates because we got new security gates that are going to be installed on the 1st. It's going to be one set that is closer to the entrance of our library, and so we only need one set of gates for the entire library, so we didn't need a second set downstairs because it covers the elevator as well as the stairs. So all books will go through that one gate.
Yeah.
So it'll be less in price for us to keep the maintenance up on that. I added 700 for vehicle maintenance, and building and property stays the same at 9,000. And software maintenance, I reduced because really the only thing that comes out of that is if we have new software, such as a new license for Windows or a new license for something else, the only thing that really comes out of there is our deep freeze, which is our security for our public computers. So, but that's it.
Can we back up to Windstream? I ask this all the time, I still don't understand it. $3,100 a year.
These are all the individual lines that we have going. As soon as we get our final switch made here, and it may be before the end of June, so a number of these lines will hopefully reduce, and we're gonna probably pull them all into the IT budget, so that it's all centralized and
Because that was the beauty supposedly of,
so.
kind of like XM radio, you don't have to listen to commercials. And then they were listening to commercials.
We've gone through and I was on the phone with them, I'm like, I think I'm paying duplicate here, here, and here, and they're like, and they finally identified, yes, you're correct. And they're going back and fixing several bills that I've had for a while, and so.
And this includes the high-speed internet that we have over there, but that shouldn't be that expensive if we got a gig.
This is just the old POTS line service.
Uh-huh.
Is what's going out to the departments. And plain old telephone service is what POTS lines are. And, we're getting all of it. For whatever reason, the library has 6 telephone lines that go in over there. And it's been that way for a very long time. And, you know, even identifying where they all go or what they're for nobody's ever been able to figure it out.
And we're afraid just to cut them off.
Well, we're getting ready to.
So where does just the utility for, is it in utilities, the internet?
Yes.
It's figured in her utilities?
No, the internet, all of the internet I've tried to move into the IT budget, which you'll see tomorrow afternoon.
IT for your department?
In 101, 1 through 3.
Okay.
And it's a big number.
Yeah, it's a big, big number.
And I think one of those lines actually goes into our elevator.
Correct, and it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Did you know we had an elevator? Well, yeah, you're Santa Claus. Did you know we had an elevator? I didn't know we had an
You
elevator.
mean Santa Claus goes in the elevator?
Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
It's required because we have 2 floors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have known, but I just never noticed it. Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, I just had one, and more on the plus side. Do you think $1,400 is enough for a fuel allotment?
I don't know.
Well, I wondered, because that's a good answer, because I got to looking at, that's about 500 gallons of fuel, and you're looking at some fairly large triangles are going to be filling up. And it's going
Correct.
to be loaded with books, so.
One of the things that we're going to try to do is that we're not going to try to make the route to where it's like a separate day, so there's not extra in there going back and forth, but that it's just a loop. But that's where I started off with. That's where I could find the extra money with the money I already have, rather than asking for more. Because since we don't have it going, we don't know how much exactly it's going to cost us.
Well, I'd be in favor of putting it up to 2,000, I think, at least. So, because I don't want you caught on the loose end of that on the, the whole point
Should
of
just go
this.
back to Mama Judy, and Judy will find her.
For that-
Actually, I probably just have it transferred from another account, because the money that I get from the county and from the Downs, money I get from the state and from Go Bonds, the Go Bonds in the state wouldn't do it, but anything that I get from the Downs or the county could be used
Free for you to use.
to increase that.
So no funds have been canceled for libraries do we get federal funds?
What happens is that federal funds go to the state library.
Okay,
We don't get federal funds directly.
okay.
So, to my knowledge, from the research that I've done, it could affect interlibrary loan services from the state that we utilize. It could affect services for the visually handicapped
Yeah,
that they have. It could affect summer reading program.
yeah,
We'll just have to see what
Okay.
actually takes place.
okay.
So,
Could.
but it could affect us through the state library.
Okay.
Could. Could. So I have somebody that's got some historic books that are worth a lot of money that he wants to, the family wants to donate them to the library. Some are really expensive. He said that probably shouldn't be checked out, but the rest of them, he said, would be, checked out, just not, you'd have to know who took them so they didn't steal them. Are you interested in that?
Yes, we would be interested in
'Cause they're
that.
really nice, cool books. They're.
And for those that we don't check out, we have them in reference for people to go and.
Well, and I
utilize at
told
the
his
library.
family that, she goes, no, we want people to be able to check them out. And I said, well, you don't know what's gonna happen to them, but
No.
there's a few of them. Huh? Are you meeting with them tomorrow? Okay, I can't remember who I sent them to. Some of them I said should go in the museum, and then the others to you.
That's why we're both meeting with her. so
Okay,
we
well, I'm
can
sorry.
decide
So
what goes where.
Is it the Ritters and all those folks? Yeah, okay, perfect. I couldn't remember if we got that done. Great. I'm excited about
Gina?
seeing some of those, huh?
What Ritter?
Buddy and Margaret, and your good buddies. I'm talking to Eddie. Well, I get this call and stuff like this all the time, but they just love Eddie. Yeah, it had nothing to do with the conversation, but that Eddie. So anyway, that's good. I'm glad y'all are meeting with them. Anything else?
That's all I have, if you have anything else.
Well, great job.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
You always do.
Uh-huh. You and your staff are great.
And the air conditioner heater's all working good?
Oh, yes.
Have you had to use the air conditioner yet?
Well, it's an automatic kind of thing. It's automated, so when it gets too warm, the
It
air
comes on.
conditioner kicks in and so.
I missed the loud unit that we had there before.
Yeah, you have to get out there and bang on a trash can or something.
We used to talk and scream at the same time.
You can't concentrate because there's not enough noise.
Yeah, it's
It certainly
awesome.
makes the walk a lot quieter on that walking trail.
So I think next up is Convention Center, General Fund. 5 full-time employees.
Bernadine.
Okay.
Hi there.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Get these on, so I know what I'm talking about.
I'm with you.
Okay, so ours is this, most of it is the same. We Judy took a little bit out of our overtime because we haven't used the 12,000 in the last few years. So she decreased that to 7,000, which I think we'll be okay with. And everything else I kept the same, the laundry expense, uniforms, office supplies I went down a little bit, general supplies I went up a little bit so that I could order new linen. And janitorial, I increased it slightly just because the cost of everything has really gotten expensive, like toilet paper, trash bags, all those things that, that we use on a daily basis. And then,
What, real quick, can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
On the, your new linens, what do you do with the old linens?
So what we do is we keep them. So what we do is that if they're stained and they come back from the laundry and they can't be cleaned, then we just set them aside and we'll just put them in with like the loss of like equipment and things like that. So we have a whole bunch that are stained that we can't really do anything with. If they're stained, I make the guys take them off the tables because they look tacky, so. But, yeah, but we keep using the same colors.
Gotcha.
So that we always
Rotate
have
'em,
white
yeah.
and black and gray. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And then, let's see, and then in non-capital furniture and fixtures, we're asking for new chairs. We haven't had, the last time we purchased new chairs was in 2013. And some of them are starting to break and kind of fall apart, so we are asking for 48,000 to replace 1,500 chairs. And then we're also asking for 3,000 to replace projectors and screens that were came back either damaged or they're missing that we lent to the EOC. And that we need to replace those for our client use. And fuel, we went down a little bit because we don't really use our village vehicle much. It's to go to Ace Hardware, pick up laundry. I have to run to Walmart to get supplies and things like that, so I did go down a little bit on that. And then, contractual services, we left the same. That's, for the common area for water, electricity, and just maintenance of the common area through the hotel. And then, telephone, I think that probably went up again because of the internet. Judy and those guys usually do that. I kept the same amount in travel and schools just in case we might need it. Equipment rental went up slightly just because we've been making more copies than usual. And building and property, we kept the same. Vehicle maintenance, we kept the same. Software maintenance, it goes up each year for both our booking software and our layout software. It's just something that they do.
Bernadine,
Yes.
did we ever, did we do the paving?
No,
Because we have to get with the,
No,
oh, no, we don't.
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I think we're waiting on another quote. So yes, we are still working on it.
Steve was wanting to do the fog seal, which is just watered down paint. And we've been looking, go ahead, Mike, you want to fill me in?
We're looking at a grant, so the initial cost that came back was roughly about $1 million. And so it was supposed to be split within three.
Right.
Now that the golf course is they've switched ownership and they're renewing, it's really gonna be like a 1/3, 2/3 kind of component. And because of that, I think we've identified a grant that could possibly qualify to pay for about 500,000 of the paving if the quote comes
Do it
back
right.
at about $1 million.
Yeah, that would
So
be
that would-
great.
It's a little bit easier pill to swallow for everybody at that point.
And then the hotel would help us as
They'll
well.
pay their third of it.
Yeah,
So, because there's a lot of damage done to that parking lot with all the big trucks
Yeah.
over there.
It's a
yeah,
mess.
yeah,
But they're full all the time.
I know.
So while we're talking about the hotel, on a side note, I know I get calls, do you get calls, just complaints and stuff, kind of on the upkeep of the hotel?
Oh, we're starting to get more, because we send out an evaluation with each group, and we're starting to get more people that are stating, the hotel's run down, they need to remodel their rooms and things like that. So I'll usually send a copy to Michael and to Steve just to let them, when we do get something like that in, I try to let them know.
I want to start getting a copy of that because I've been talking to
Oh,
their
yes, I
owner.
mentioned that I'd give you a copy as well.
And because I don't think it's getting through to them, they're just seeing the bottom line that their hotel is banking. and they don't realize those big hot tubs are water users, wasters, and unsanitary, I might add. And then just the other things that need to be done to keep it as the premier hotel in Ruidoso. It's not, so.
And Mayor, one of the other items we're doing is we're going through that contract review to identify what the requirements are, what their obligations are. So it's not just a land lease. There is upkeep that has to be done in having that facility. And so my goal would be to push back on areas that have not met those requirements or those legal requirements and try and hold feet to the fire.
And that's what we've got to do, because we neglected that on this. The links for years, they let them slide, and then when we started to, it was too much trouble. So we've got to catch up with these guys, and then we let them know if they're not interested, we have a buyer for that. But, I don't want them to be pushed out or whatever, but the plans that we've talking about for expansion of the convention center and all those things is pretty exciting stuff, so.
Well, that's really important though, because that goes hand in hand with our convention center. And so it's really important that that hotel is nice.
I agree, because
we
it's
get
always the
calls.
host hotels, so.
Yeah, we do get calls.
And one of the other items, Ron and I were just talking about this, one of the biggest issues is that due to their long-term bookings, we are not seeing lodger's tax.
Nope.
The other issue is, you made mention of this earlier with the pavement, those big trucks should not be out there. And so those things are damaging significantly the pavement that's there. I understand that they're constantly full, but from a benefit perspective, it's not hitting GRT the way it should for the village perspective.
Why is that? Because a lot of them have been long-term?
Yeah, over 30 days, we
Got
have
it,
an ordinance.
Yeah.
Anything over 30 days doesn't pay
Yeah.
short term, or lodger's tax.
So who's responsible for the asphalt over there?
They are,
They are?
that's where their third comes in, but
They don't want to do that though.
And really, what we should be doing, so in some cases, this is a discussion that just briefly came up, but I think we're gonna look more into it. As you have these heavy vehicles that are sitting there, a lot of communities that do things like fracking, that do a lot of the truck components, they have an extra heavy vehicle fee that goes on to the hotel price, to help maintain some of the, asphalt. I think we need to start looking at that and strongly suggest that those things happen, either that or the,
And when we have an emergency or something, we can certainly waive those.
yes, sir.
And then even now, it's kind of do you or don't you, because these are all Windstream or Kinetic. And then they end up over in the convention center side, and we're constantly calling them, saying, hey, you need to move them back over because you got a big event coming. And, we do that 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes I've said it, and I know y'all say it, and so it's just, we really need to get those ground rules identified again, and, we know all those folks over there very well. We're not trying to upset the
Yes, sir.
apple cart, but we just have to get things moving in the right direction.
I just think that there should be some expectation
And
Well,
we're
you
not-
know what?
of excellence.
And all we've ever done is expected them to get groups in and to have a hotel and say yes. When we have groups coming into town, that they'll work out a rate, and they always do. But then you're right, when you go in the rooms and the cabinet door's hanging off, or you open it and it falls down and there's a piece of tape up there. Well, nobody ever uses those, is what I was told.
Until they fall on you.
Or your grandson comes dragging a Cheeto out and he's licking it.
Oh, no.
Like, where'd you get that? He points and is underneath the bed. And I know that happens, believe me. It happens, it does happen, but we're just hearing about it a lot.
Terrible.
My favorite's that they went in and the maintenance guy was taking a nap on their bed.
Oh, yes.
Was he
I
alone?
heard that too.
I heard that one twice, but they fixed it, so.
Oopsie.
And I know things happen, but it's just that it's time we had a conversation, because they are making the big bucks over there now. That hotel's full all the time. The parking lot's full all the time.
And you're gonna get, mayor and council, you're gonna get a lot of just the wear and tear from these construction companies that are staying there.
Oh,
You're
man.
gonna see a lot. It's gonna need a lot of maintenance, and they're not getting it done.
And since they've been there, I know that there are a lot of people, because they're taking up so many rooms.
Oh, yes.
That they don't have enough rooms for our conferences and conventions that are coming in.
No.
And they're having to find other places to stay. And I asked Steve how long they would be there, and he said, well, I'm hoping till September, October.
Oh, wow.
It's like, that's what I said. I was like,
We're gonna have the annual
Okay.
conference there in
They're
September.
not doing
I
anything.
know, I
That's gonna be
know.
a,
Well, they've already placed.
Well, they're there now, aren't they?
yeah.
Some of the hotel feedback we've got is that people are going to the inn.
Yeah, see, we want them to stay here.
I agree. Like for conferences and conventions? Yeah.
That's our convention, and we need them to be here.
I agree.
Could you comment on the restuccoing of the building? Yeah, I noticed that as a line item, or did I
Yes,
get
that
jump
was-
ship on that?
Yes, that was gonna be my last thing, is that, I was asking for that for next fiscal, but then I was talking to Judy, and, she would like, or we would all like, for it to be done before the annual conference in September, so she was looking at possibly taking out of, finding the money to do it this fiscal year, so.
If it's out there, I know Junie can find it. You'd like it spruced up for the big event this summer.
And it needs it. I mean, every time I walk around the building, there's just the birds have taken over.
Oh,
They just, I'm serious. And you just see the white stuff just floating out, and everybody's like, what is that? It's
Las
terrible.
Vegas had this thing where it was in a common area in a park, and it was basically covered with vines and the rest, and the nice little benches to keep you out of the sun. Well, what they didn't, it was a roosting place, and there was no way in the world you were gonna walk through it or sit under it, because, well, there would be more than a white dust that came down.
So everything that's on that original summary sheet that says move to current year, I've already found the money. We're just waiting for the approval of the budget so that we can move forward with them.
Move forward
So
with it.
we're hoping that the budget approval will go on the May 12th, the 12th meeting. And then that way we could start buying the things, the trailer and the tent, and getting the stucco going.
Tents?
On emergency management,
Oh, on that part of it.
yeah.
Okay.
So we're not doing anything with the building this year.
Yeah, just the stucco, and
Yeah,
you've
just
already
the-
got the roof, you've already got,
But we're not expanding.
no, that's
Oh,
just
that's-
a dream that Mike
okay.
has.
Oh, that's just,
Building,
We'll make the dream a reality. The grant is open, and we are going to start.
Yeah, we're
moving
just
forward
gonna
with
go
it.
after it, but we need the hotel to cooperate on what they're doing if we're investing all this
Got
money
it.
in.
would it connect with,
It can.
yeah?
wasn't it originally drawn that way?
It was originally.
Supposed to have a restaurant and a little pass-through.
Yeah, that would be very nice.
Because I often wondered why there were no bathrooms at that end of the convention center when there's so much activity. And they said,
Yeah.
well, originally it was to be a hallway with, facilities connecting to the hotel.
Mike wants to dig down underneath so you have an underneath walkway. So that when it's snowing, am I right?
Nice.
See, isn't that cool? Dig down.
I hadn't heard that one.
I mean, if we're
In
going, let's go.
Sure, I
All the
agree.
way.
Well,
Washington,
And a
I think you
pavilion
should
in the
put a
back for
canopy with
concerts.
fish over
You
your
walk
head.
underneath
Oh,
to the
yeah.
hotel.
yeah.
And a canopy with fish and all that.
Yeah, I think it's
Well, I
great.
don't know about fish, but there's definitely going to be a canopy for concerts in the back out overlooking everything, so.
Okay.
Great job, Bernadine.
Thank you.
You've done a nice job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay. Up next is the Wingfield. This will only take 15 minutes or 5. You can't get her to talk more than that.
She had a really good one on churches the other day.
I haven't listened to that
That's a
one.
good one.
This week's radio show is one of the longer ones, so
Is it?
you'll see.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Hi,
Good
Stephanie.
afternoon.
Afternoon.
I guess I'll start with, I did put a request in for a new person for education position. It's something that we had put in our strategic plan when we went through. I'm doing my best as an army of one, but I could use an able lieutenant to help me out.